Black Widow has just come out in the theaters and on Disney Plus as a premiere access. So is it worth it? Is the movie good? Bad? We've got a review for you, mostly spoiler free, but we do have a few spoilers at the end, so let's check it out. So Black Widow has basically been on hold for a couple years now due to coronavirus and COVID and all of this mess. They finally released it this last Friday, where it actually set a record in theaters since everything shut down for coronavirus. Additionally, it's available on Disney Plus as premiere access for $30, so you can watch it at home. That's what we did. We actually had a group of 7 of us sit down and watch the movie last Saturday. Now, to kind of give you an idea of what the movie's about, it takes place right after Captain America Civil War, but before Infinity War and those movies. And it kind of goes back in the history of Natasha, the Black Widow, and talks about what her life was like, how she ended up the way she did. It goes back and looks at her father and mother and sister and the family relationships that are there, and gives you a good idea of everything that happened. It does talk about abuse of women. It does touch a number of other issues. It's a little bit different than many of the other movies, and we'll talk about that as I bring in Amber and Laurel, and we'll also talk a little bit about what the others said. But definitely an interesting movie, and we'll let you know why. So I've got my daughters, Amber and Laurel, with me, and they were part of it. My son, his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's brother were also part of our group watching it, but they're not able to be here. So we'll try and sound in what they said during the movie. First thing, general impressions.
I thought that it had great story to it. It had so much story for Natasha, not just right after the Accords and after the fight, but also for her background and her childhood, more like what it was like. It gave it a lot in bits and flashes. Like, that's one of the things that it showed us right off the bat. Like, her childhood was condensed to bits and flashes right in the beginning credits, which I thought was cool.
I thought that it was pretty good, but for me personally, it was about on par with Ant-Man, and while the story itself was better than Ant-Man, the necessity of it was less so, because without the credit scene, you could just skip this movie completely and it wouldn't really affect your Marvel experience.
It really was about character development. I think that's a good way to put it. It gives you a lot of backstory, a lot of fill-in. It really fleshes out, almost kind of like the TV series are doing with the characters.
Yes.
But in this case, it's in movie form.
Yeah. We'll talk later maybe about the end credits scene, because we kind of debated over how it should have been done.
That'll be in the spoiler section at the end.
Yeah. Overall, the movie itself, I mean, I might be a little bit biased because Black Widow is one of my favorites. I really, really loved it, but it's true, it's not necessary. It didn't add anything to the overall flow of time in the Marvel Universe.
You basically have 6 main characters. You've got Natasha, her dad, her mom, her sister, the antagonist, Dreykov, and then the supervillain,
Taskmaster.
Taskmaster. Yes. Don't want to talk too much about roles and stuff because don't give anything away, but those are basically the 6 in the movie. And there were a couple that stood out more than others. So, favorite character?
Aside from Natasha, who I love, her sister Yelena was great. That sister relationship and just the character itself, I loved.
I think that's kind of what everybody agreed on, is she was the one that we ended up the most interested in. She actually seemed like she was the most filled out. It was kind of neat to see Rachel Weisz as the mom. In fact, other people didn't recognize her.
I still don't.
Yeah. I was like, what?
I liked the dad.
He was funny.
Crimson Geronimo. He was very picky about his name. He was kind of the humor element. Mm-hmm. There were some other bits and pieces in there, but mostly most of the humor seemed to revolve around him.
Most definitely.
I just felt like what my brother said, there wasn't a whole lot of tension in the moment, like maybe for the other 3 members of the sort of family that Natasha had. But with Natasha, you know that she's going to be in Endgame after this. You know that she's going to be fine. It just kind of, it felt like a spin-off
There is a big action sequence in the movie where, of course, things are blowing up and everything, and are they going to survive? You're not worried about Natasha surviving.
I was worried about her sister, because that would have been a huge personal thing to Natasha, but other than that, unless you were invested in one of the characters in particular, which was really hard to do except for the sister, then she's right and Joseph was right. There's no stakes. You know that Black Widow is going to make it out of this movie.
And you know that the problem she's dealing with isn't going to be a big problem because she doesn't mention anything again in the other movies. You know that whatever stakes that she's fighting against, they're all going to be taken care of.
That, I think, is probably the hardest part about doing a movie that kind of goes back in time a little bit is the future resolution, and so it's a little bit harder that way. I think everybody agreed they enjoyed the movie.
It was definitely a good movie. Probably a one watch, maybe more if you're bored.
It was a yes, happy I watched it. Yes, I absolutely wanted to watch it. But it's not one that I feel like I have to grab again. Not like Black Panther, where I'm like, oh man, I just want to watch this movie.
That movie's great. I mean, I would totally recommend watching it. It is worth that one watch, even that's all you ever give it.
If you're dying to get back out in the theaters again, this is a good movie to get back in the theaters for.
Oh yeah.
We watched it at home using the Disney Premiere on a good-sized TV with a decent sound system. I mean, we had the bass thumping. But I imagine those action sequences at the end would have had a bigger impact in the theater.
Well, even the action sequences throughout, because we had a couple of them, like Taskmaster at the very beginning.
Yeah.
That was one that it did give one good, bass rumble.
It probably would have had more of an emotional impact in the theater because of the bigger screen, the surround sound.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And everything. That does definitely impact it a little bit. We would have gone to see it. In our case, with a group of 7, the premiere absolutely was worth it to do it at home. Because otherwise, it would have been $70 just to get in.
Probably more. It's probably more like 15 a person.
Plus the popcorn and everything else. So overall scores, I think everybody was floating around the 7 to 8 range.
I gave it a solid 8.
Me too.
And then Joseph and Hannah and I think Josiah were all 7s. I was floating towards the 8 range, so 7.5 out of 10.
Well, Joseph actually said he was a solid 7.8.
Yeah. Joseph. Good movie. Definitely a good one to go out in the theaters again, or to do premiere. Work your budget. Do what's best. If you've got a good TV and sound system at home, it's a good one to watch. Definitely worth seeing. I'm actually happy we didn't wait on it. You could wait for it to be free on premiere. This is one I would not wait for. Raya and the Last Dragon, that was definitely worth waiting on. This was good to see now.
One of the things that I did notice that I really, really liked was I really liked the Widow costume designs.
The costume designs of this were really
cool.
cool.
Great.
Yes.
I loved them so much. I really loved how you saw, how much of her costume Black Widow really, really got from her origins. That was cool. They had great costume designs for everyone else. The Red Defender. His costume was less interesting. It was
a red version of Captain America.
It was more hysterical.
It really was a parody of Captain America's, yes.
So all of the costuming and the actual, physical and visual character designs, I thought they really, really did an excellent job with.
It was a fun movie. Absolutely. It's one that fits well into the MCU. When you put Ant-Man as your low bar, and honestly, I thought Ant-Man was pretty decent. It's not like the original 2 Hulks.
We don't acknowledge those.
Yeah.
Shh, they didn't happen.
So with that, there are definitely some things that we noticed, we thought about, we talked about that involve spoilers. So beware of this next part coming up. Spoilers. We're going to dig in a little bit more on a few of the things. There is an end credit scene. I like the way they developed the society, the abusive, sexist society that Natasha came from, that raised up a whole bunch of widows.
Yes.
I felt like, considering they were all called widows, maybe it would have been better if either they had been called something else or it had been just the overall project name, because I feel like after exiting an abusive situation like that, Natasha wouldn't call herself a reminder of the situation that she came from, wearing it as a badge.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I don't know if I would want to be reminded of that experience that she went through. I was okay with them calling them all widows because that's essentially what they made them as they raised these girls. Like, these girls were they were never meant to have a life.
It does a great job creating a fictional abusive society that at the same time can be a commentary on how so much of our society treats women today.
Yeah.
Exaggerated, extreme, but at the same time the attitudes that are there are all too common. I was watching a video the other day about Haley Deegan, who is a NASCAR racer. She's 20, I think, young lady, great driver. And as she was at this All-Star Series, they're filming, she's walking out to her car, and some dorkwad yells at her, "Go back to the kitchen!" And it's those kinds of attitudes that it really exemplifies in this horrific society. It does a good job of showing the extreme disregard that a lot of people have for women. And they're just tools to be used. In this case, to be used for assassination.
And then exterminated themselves.
And if they didn't do it exactly right, push a button, bump them off. I thought that was well developed. The villain, though, Dreykov,
he kind of just appeared.
He was a very cookie-cutter communist villain. Terrible
Russian accent, short man.
The one thing is that they show that he's got this huge network. And I think this is where it fails a little bit on the interest is, okay, you got a big network. So what? What would you do with them? Well, he just shows he's got them everywhere, but why?
Well, he was saying that his widows all over the world, he had started wars, he had ended wars, he had influenced politics with them.
Yes, but that's a show don't tell kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was kind of shown in the intro. So
they were showing this backdrop of all sorts of disasters across the world, and it was kind of like, I guess we're supposed to make the connection. I thought that was a little...
I mean, I definitely agree. I like how they fleshed out that whole organization of taking girls and raising them to be super soldiers. Oh, as if that wasn't enough, let's also chemically brainwash you. Like, we're going to physically harm you and abuse you and keep you as slaves and assassins, and we're gonna, just...
I felt like the parents, while their negative sides were fleshed out well with that, like the mother who had her pig farm and she made the pig almost die by having it hold its breath.
I was so uncomfortable.
And she was saying that the world would be better if everything about a person could be ordered like that. While that was explained well, it wasn't really completely explained why they switched sides or if they even switched their moral standards at all. It just seemed like they believed the same things that they had at the end, but they happened to like Widow enough to go along with her.
It was interesting how they built Natasha's family.
Yeah.
And how it was pieced together and the reasoning. And actually, that's one thing that I don't necessarily want to talk too much about because it's revealed in bits and pieces throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
I think the one thing we all agreed on was the end credit scene was disappointing.
It was. It could have been done so much better.
There's this moment where the sister is at the grave and you hear this the nose blowing behind her, and I thought because of the comic relief he'd been before that it was going to be the father, Alexei, standing behind her blowing his nose and going, "This is so sad, I miss her so much," and then it turns out it's the lady from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Valentina.
It was frustrating because the one thing the movie really didn't have was a closure.
Especially for the family.
And they could have done that in the end credit scene and still had this other bit that would lead into the next movie that's coming.
Yeah.
But they did it in such a way there wasn't closure, and they could have done both. They could have brought the family in, and they didn't, and I think they should have.
Especially
I think so
when that scene was the only thing that gave the movie a reason to be at this point in the timeline.
Yeah.
Because without that scene, it's just a movie that's been shown out of order that you could have watched after Civil War. That scene was what was supposed to carry it to the present day, and it
fell flat.
Yeah.
For an end credits scene, there was a lot that actually hinged on it, and they missed an opportunity. They could have done the family in the cemetery and then put the end credit scene in a car as they were leaving or something like that. Done the exact same kind of hook, had the same impact, but it would have given closure to the movie as well. And I think they missed it.
I did like that. How is it pronounced? Leitmotif for the music. You know how a lot of projects, video games or movies or TV shows will have this one set of notes that gets taken into like every OST
Oh, okay.
song.
So like in Star Wars, the da 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 da.
Yes, but no, but like it's not just that song, but like it's taken apart and put into the other songs.
Yes.
They had the leitmotif for the Avengers theme put into Black Widow's theme in the movie, and you could hear the 4 notes that started off the Avengers theme before it turned into her song.
I did like the design for Taskmaster, who I don't want to spoil Taskmaster, but I don't know. I'm not a comic purist or anything. I thought it was a cool design.
The outfit for Taskmaster was great.
And that's all.
I don't know if I like the change they made to the origin.
I don't like the changing character.
I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but the Avengers video game that came out, which started Miss Marvel, the stretchy arm girl. In that one, Taskmaster was working for Star Labs and helping them with their anti-mutant serum. I thought that was a lot more fitting, I guess, instead of having them...
That's more the traditional Taskmaster role.
...randomly be inserted into another organization.
And a completely different character. They changed pretty much everything.
I think my biggest issue with Taskmaster comes at the point where they're defeated and they're essentially brought out, made aware of what's happened.
Yeah.
And the response is just, is he gone? Oh. And
yeah, like just asking, is Dreykov gone? And like, there was a moment for feels there.
And again, it felt like it got cut short a little bit. I would love to know in deleted scenes if there was more to that, because it felt like there should have been.
There was room for so many feels. I was expecting the feels, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I did like the insinuation after they freed all the widows that the widows went off and either chose a new life or formed their own organization.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised because there was a lot more that you don't see in the movie.
Yeah,
if they found a way to go out and release the others.
One of the problems that I had with the family, and like Amber said, you said like we don't know what changed their allegiance at all, because originally they were all for the widows.
They're all programmed.
Yeah, but
they were biased towards the program.
Yeah, that they were for it. They helped develop it and everything.
Alexei and Melina, though, both... Alexei got thrown in prison.
Well, okay, he got thrown in prison, so he wasn't all gung-ho for it, but Melina...
He was just mad at the leader. He still had the moral standpoint.
He still, like, let them go.
And Melina, she was training pigs to have the same kind of mental conditioning, so she was still all for it.
Yeah. Interesting questions to think about. Let us know what you think. I'd love to know your ideas in the comments. So.
Yes.
So there's a look at Black Widow, the movie, a review, our thoughts, our opinions, whether it's worth it or not. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and share the video as well. Subscribe if you haven't. Love to hear your feedback. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Share it below. Thank you so much, too, to Leo and my patrons for helping to make this possible. They're the ones who foot the bill for things like this, so we can check it out and let you know what we think. And that way you can then decide whether you want to spend your money. If you want to know more about that, please check the description below, too. There's a ton of information there. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Additionally, it's available on Disney+. Hello, cat. No. See if anybody notices that. So there's a look at Black Widow. Can you give you... Okay. Right here. The music composition... It was great. Yeah. I'd love to hear your feedback. Please leave it in the comments below.
Sorry. I don't know why my phone just did that. I'll turn it off. I apologize.
It's all right. I'm not live, so...
It was not a video, it was a picture.
Okay. Love you.